have steady tax revenue. It assumes we have a stable population and a much larger municipal workforce and more resources. We're operating as if we still have the $100 million budget. Fourth big barrier, we have little market value. This is Zillow, right? Everyone's familiar with Zillow, you go in there and buy a house or something. There is very, very little activity. There is no market to speak of. Again, 1 in 5 properties is on tax sale every single year. They can't give them away. There's a major hole in our local market value, market demand. Fifth big barrier to redevelopment, and this is more on the city side, is no contiguous land for development. In spite of being available all over, you drive around, there's all sorts of vacant land. There's no contiguous land available in the city where investment and redevelopment can take place. We hear regularly from brokers. They call me all the time. They represent investors and they want large lots, 20, 30, 40 acres. But we too often are unable to meet their needs and they choose to invest elsewhere. Ask our folks at the forum, ask Don Babcock at NIPSCO. It's very, very difficult to land somebody. Even the land around the airport is not contiguous, which creates additional challenges. And the largest city-owned parcels, we do have some big ones, but they have serious environmental issues. They're either protected wetlands or they're brownfields. These lead to a lot of upfront costs to basic development. Developers simply move on. Even if we have rail access, even if we're by an airport, if we say, okay, this is great, we've got a great spot for you, but it's going to cost you $1 million up front to clear out all the contamination, they say, screw it, we're moving on. These are national site selectors, these people looking all over the country. And then for us, the vast majority of city properties, over 90%, are vacant single-family lots. Less than 1 acre, less than 1/10 of 1 acre in size. And that makes putting enough sites together very difficult for us. More on that. What is site assembly? What's that even mean? So here is the example that I use. This is a single blighted lot. A lot of work. Good work that has happened over the last, as recently as like 10 years, that has involved people, involved businesses, involved local institutions that respect our neighborhoods. And they say, we have all these robust community ideas, let's put them to work. And again, they haven't been implemented. So we've been looking at them, trying to either update them or implement them. That's our job. So the first one of these is the University Park Plan, originally done in 2004. There was an update in 2012 and 13, and there's more updating going on right now. Focuses on building around IU Northwest and IU Tech. There's opportunities to attract neighborhood amenities. It includes elements of Vision for Broadway, done by Black Planners in 2009. Through a HUD Choice Neighborhood Planning Grant, community meetings are ongoing, and infrastructure improvements are underway. We're paving roads there right now, we're demolishing homes right there right now. One of the basic premises is you can use the population going in and out of IU. You can use the people going to Ivy Tech to get a laundromat, to get a coffee shop, and not like a fancy coffee shop, like a Starbucks. You get a Dunkin' Donuts. Right now, developers come and they look and they say, well, this is a pretty vacant neighborhood. Average income's pretty low. We'll just move on. People go to Maryville anyway. So the idea here is to use the traffic going in and out of IU and say, okay, we actually have a pretty good daytime population that can support these amenities, and then the neighbors can use them as well. The Gary Greenling was led by the Environmental Affairs Department back in 2005. A lot of naturalists, National Park, NERC were all involved. And it creates a contiguous pedestrian bike path through each of Gary's neighborhoods and each of our unique natural ecosystems. The bike trail north of 4th Avenue is completed along the Grand Count. The next year we'll be letting out another segment rather. There's opportunity to connect it to larger interstate bike and trail systems. A lot of them run right through Gary. And there's opportunity to build out the unique natural areas through stormwater management and green infrastructure. So the University Park Plan, this is a website you can go to, universityparkeast.com. There's a lot of public planning. Brenda Scott Henry, that's your cameo I was telling you about. It's even the picture from the website. A lot of these are going up into several of these meetings already. They're ongoing. Continue to hone this, continue to make sure it reflects what residents need. Again, the Gary Greenlink, I just spoke to it. It's a little wonky and out of order, but we'll also go ahead. This is what we're talking about. This goes all through the city. All of these different colors and patterns and things represent different natural features. Without getting too deep into geology, when the Great Lakes were formed, they smashed all these sand minerals to the southern shore of Lake Michigan, forming the dunes. We're on sort of the vortex of several different ecosystems, and as a result, we have really awesome nature. It's really cool. So you have dunes, you have oak savannas, you have whatever. More tools, a very comprehensive plan. Carolyn asked me, what does that even mean? So here it is. The official guiding document adopted by the Gary Common Council by state statute. This is updated every so often by statute, so I would imagine there's another one coming very shortly. Very thorough, enabling document. It's got a lot of information. It's about this thick. It's available at the planning office if you're interested in looking at it. You can call the planning department and we'll get you a copy. But again, it's the official reference for the Planning Commission, the BZA, the City Council to ensure development, housing, land use are consistent with the citizens' vision. A lot of work on it. We have current efforts also. We're building on a lot of these concepts and ideas presented in these plans. The city administration, this administration has worked with a large number of partners to gain more public input. Through our Strong States, Strong Communities designation, that's our federal government partners. Resources have gone to focus on several neighborhoods within the Gary Northside Redevelopment Project. That's Grant and Horace Mann area around the hospital, downtown, Emerson, Etna, Miller, and Glen Ryan. Again, University Park, better articulated plans already adopted by the City Council, and GPPC's Livable Broadway plans, so trying to incorporate things that have already been approved as recently last year, and connect them to actionable steps and updates to our codes and ordinances. Remember those big problems. So, creating livable centers, this is just a little screenshot, not done yet. This is the hospital area. We're talking about workforce housing for folks in the hospital. How do you use the hospital to facilitate additional medical services and those amenities that feed the medical services? That's a very strong neighborhood. Everyone knows Horace Mann. Beautiful houses, pretty well maintained, pretty high occupancy. How do you stabilize that neighborhood? Probably less demolition, more rehab here. This also extends into downtown in Emerson. Emerson Spotlight Group, Progressive Missionary Baptist Church, Brenda, Jesse, Curtis, they've been working to make sure they're actionable steps that people want that are reflected in this plan. Then we have the East Lakefront District, which is our next one. This is the area around the Miller train station. We worked with a number of partners, EPA, HUD, Department of Transportation, the RDA, the State Department of Transportation, as well as folks in Miller to really identify some opportunities to build on the two biggest draws we have in that neighborhood, the train station, which provides access to our beach and our national park. We're working right now to redo zoning in that as sort of a pilot for a new zoning code we can do across the city. Remember I said it hasn't been changed since the 1960s. This is our opportunity to look at how we can do that. This Livable Broadway plan, where's David? There you are. This is his brainchild. Bus rapid transit, better access to the bus system, better access to jobs, better access to the train station, amenities down in Merrillville with the bus rapid transit system, and building off larger train stations. Make you, gets you downtown a lot faster, gets you to Merrillville a lot faster, gets you to our train station a lot faster, and building out really nice bus stations as well with biking amenities built in, that sort of thing. Other tools we have, federal partnerships. Through our partnerships with EPA, HUD, DOT, Department of Treasury, and our Strong City, Strong Community designation, we've been able to fund a lot of this. We funded demolition, our $6.6 million hardest hit fund demolition program, biggest award in the state's history, was done with help from the Department of Treasury. We've been updating planning efforts, as I just mentioned, and modernizing zoning codes, and funding brownfield remediation. Remember when I said it costs a lot of money to develop large sites, and the ones we have are contaminated? There are methods to clean them up. There's money available, but it's really, really burdensome. So we've worked with the EPA and the state environmental groups and law firms to get a pipeline going to clean up the brownfields and be able to develop some of our larger sites that have sat fallow and were contaminated for years and years. Code enforcement infrastructure. We won a technical assistance scholarship for the Center for Community Progress. They're a national organization based out of Flint, and they focus on abandoned buildings. They work on mortgage foreclosures, they work on land banks, they work on urban gardening and urban ag, and they work on process-oriented problems. We asked them to focus on code enforcement, big issue for us. So they reviewed our inefficiencies, and we're trying to establish a data-driven code enforcement program. Proactive, where are our problems? Where are people making complaints? And how do we get it from every single thing going to court to maybe an administrative process that gets to the problem a lot more quickly? And the other thing about the inequity with our code enforcement right now, if you show up to court, you're held accountable. If you don't show up to court, sometimes you're held accountable, sometimes you aren't, depending on how long the court call is. So we found that a lot of the folks who were showing up were the ones paying the fines, paying the court fines, and those who didn't were left off the hook. Senate Bill 310. I'll talk about this in detail momentarily, but earlier this year, the state passed measures to hold serial tax delinquents accountable and enable redevelopment commissions to more efficiently divest of property and public-private partnerships. So we're about to talk about one later today, but there's nothing new. Garmon is helping us build a spec building for potential industrial developers in logistics and shipping. We work with Shrewsbury, APCO Airports at the airport. This law firm with the long unpronounceable name who helps us get insurance proceeds for contaminated land. And we work together. We share both the costs and the benefits to bring more resources to bear. So, go back, please. Senate Bill 310. All right, let me see if I figure this out. How's that?
Mr. Van Dyke,
Yes.
Senate Bill 310 has an effective date
As of July the 1st. Okay. So you want to know, Senate Bill 310 is effective as of when? It's as of July 1st.
And that is what's allowing you to do these different activities under Senate Bill 310, and it's effective July the 1st, and it's put in as a pilot program.
Correct. It's put in as a...
And that means that this is going to trial, and it's only for Lake County.
It's only for Lake County and only for the next 4 years. And we'll see how it works. And if the state says if this is a good program, we'll do it statewide, great. And if not, that's it. But what is it, right? So let's start with that.
My question is this.
Sure.
If it has an effective date of July the 1st, the activities will transpire before July the 1st. How then is it relevant to this whole micro situation? Because according to Senate Bill 310, you couldn't do anything until after that date.
So she wanted to know.
You can't get the questions over here.
Sure. Okay. All right. You want to repeat your question? I'm going to paraphrase it. Go ahead.
I can speak.
All right.
The question is, ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 310 has an effective date of July the 1st. Put the mic up to your mouth instead of your ear. They can't hear. They can't hear.
I got it. I think I can.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Yes. Can you hear me well? Yes. All right. Senate Bill 310 has an effective date of July the 1st. If that is in fact the case, it is a pilot program for only Lake County and no other county in the state of Indiana. That bill was put forward to allow redevelopment commission to do the things that they're doing. So when you look at an effective date, ladies and gentlemen, of July the 1st, how then does the chronology date back a year to bring in Michael? That is my question, and those are my comments.
Okay, well, that's an excellent question. It's a good opportunity to speak to the bill because it's not directly related to Michael, but we'll get there. Here's what it says, right? So you probably read this by now, but I'll go through it. You want to focus about what is this, what is 310, they're going to steal property, tax sale, whatever. All it says is this: if there's an investor, we're using that term loosely, purchases 10 or more properties on tax sale, they willingly buy 10 or more properties as an investment, and those properties end up back on the tax sale because that investor hasn't paid any taxes, then the county and city can petition a court to compel the investor to either pay their taxes or give up the properties. That's it. Taxpayers and local governments are subsidizing lots and lots of vacant buildings by folks who haven't paid their
Joe,
taxes.
quick question. It's
What's the timeline for them
Sure.
to do that?
So this is active as of July the 1st, and the timeline is immediately upon activity. Right.
I thought there was a question about predating July 1st. I think there was a question. I don't think
So yeah, so the question is, well, I thought for everyone's benefit, we should clear up what it was.
we can read that.
Okay, well, I got you. So the question is, as of July 1st, if anything certified for tax sale going forward, even if they were purchased in 1910, then they'd be auctioned.
so it applies to any property that's ever sold at tax sale if that investor has 10 or more, correct?
I'm sorry.
If the property has ever sold at tax sale, which would be probably the majority of properties in Gary, and you own 10 or more, so pretty much anybody that owns 10 or more properties in the city of Gary, this would apply to.
If those very properties end up back on tax sale. So if they haven't
Correct.
paid their taxes for 3 straight tax sales.
Right, but they didn't have to buy it at tax sale.
And I'll post this online. This whole thing will be posted online, city's website, you can look through it.
It's already on there, isn't it?
Okay.
I think it is, yeah. Yeah, it's on there. I saw it.
Oh, it is, okay. All right, Ms. Melissa.
Couple of minor
I'm sorry.
changes.
Yeah.
You didn't finish the last paragraph.
That's all right, they're reading.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Give way to
So, addressing our three problems, right, we went to the private sector, put it out in RFP. Provide upfront capital investment, not on the back end, on the front end. Have some sort of expertise in community development. Ability to identify, market, and leverage Gary's underperforming assets, largely the land. Our infrastructure capacity, we have fiber optic cable. Are we seeking control of an outside end? Are we giving the keys to the car? All right, here, you buy all this property, you can have it, you get the red carpet treatment, do whatever you want. No. All land will be owned by us. Any abandoned land acquired will be owned by the redevelopment commission. We'll work jointly with our department, Department of Planning and Redevelopment, to develop an annual action plan that must be approved by redevelopment every year. We're doing this together. At the end of the year, redevelopment commission says, great, or no, you need to do this instead, or actually this is where our priorities are. MIACO will submit quarterly reports as well. These are the things we've spent money on, these are the things we're going to spend money on. Closely monitored, we're working with them, we'll know this anyway, because we're working with them. And then again, this is a big one also, no development can take place in the city without the normal approval process. Property is going to be sold by the redevelopment commission like it constantly is. Plan commission has to approve plans and things like that, vacations. BZA has to approve any zoning variants. We know we have all these issues with our zoning code. Site plan review committee, building commissioner, stormwater permits, all this stuff, still got to do it. And sometimes it gets to the city council. These all have the same rights they always have. There's no sort of workaround, there's no need to do that, and we're not contemplating anything like that.
Ready?
Yep. And what about local involvement? That's a big one. And admittedly, we don't have a very good workforce development apparatus working on it. What we can do is within 6 months, work with our department, create an engagement plan that I talked about, to help plan new zoning codes, planning activities, redevelopment plans, all premised on citizen participation. We have to. We're doing it anyway. 6 months, we're going to have them hire somebody from Gary to serve as a local point of contact for businesses who are interested in joining, for folks who want jobs, and folks who might just want to know what's going on. In order for MIACO to be credited with any investment, they must show documentation. One, who they contacted, who they've talked to the extent of their conversation, right? That starts with Gary, who's on Northwest Indiana, and then if they couldn't find them, why? And all of it has to be documented and approved by our board before they get credit for reimbursements. There's a big one too. Will limited domain be used to force our residents? No. Couldn't if we wanted to. We don't want to, but we couldn't. I don't have the authority to do that as a redevelopment director. Redevelopment Commission doesn't have the authority to do that. Only the City Council can. Because of that, and because we have so much vacant land, we never even thought about using eminent domain, not even on the radar. Because we can't do it.
City council?
The city council would have you approve anything.
Include the city council in the process that we make up.
Okay, we'll get out of it. Yeah, redevelopment can't use eminent
I
domain.
mean, the city council, keep mentioning the city council.
Well, it's because there's an approval process. I mean, we're not obfuscating,
But I thought we can
if,
approve that.
unruly. And then again, the areas we're targeting are limited to only the most vacant areas, with the most abandoned properties on Texas, for this very reason. Where are the most challenged areas? Here's where we're looking. This area, this is all fallow land. This is underneath 894. We got Lake Sandy Joe up here. Biggest land over here is the Calumet River Basin. Good development. A lot of it's in a wetland, floodplain, might cause a problem. This is the first one we're looking at. Yes, sir. Oh, nice.
One thing I did not see in that whole list of addressings of concerns was an aggressive attempt to engage people who might not understand the process, who have been thoroughly discouraged by years of hard times.
Sure.
We've all been in situations where anybody can join the meeting, but the people who know how to run the meeting will trample you if you try.
Yeah.
And that's what our concern is here. I see nothing to address a proactive, aggressive way of bringing into the conversation people who just might watch this train go right past them at 100 miles an hour, but you could have gotten on. What are you going to do actually to make sure that there is an aggressive attempt to bring people into this and to make sure that they are not driven out of their community
Sure.
because they couldn't move quickly enough to keep up with everything and they didn't know the right commission to address.
Sure, that's an excellent point. I accept that. That's, that's what I was saying before, is we have all these public meetings, and we put it in the newspaper, and its message isn't getting through. We need to improve upon it. The group Mayako have marketing people in there. They have community organizers. We're trying, that person we're hiring, we're trying to look for somebody who knows things. Interfaith, we talked to you, I talked to Ruth, I said, my door's open. We're open to suggestions, really.
Okay, that would be good.
We can do a much better job, you're right. Yeah. Mr. Bugs, all right, come on.
Question over here. Newspaper reported you saying that you didn't know exactly what was going on, but the mayor wanted you to close it by September. I mean, it was in the newspaper, I just want some clarification, that's all. The report you said you wasn't sure how the process was going to work, without being instructed about you had to try to close the deal by September. That was in the paper, that's all.
Try to. And then we,
80% distribution.
no, we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so first place, second place, going east.
Joe?
Yes, Ruth.
I have a question. Okay, probably can hear me better now. You said that what we need is new, innovative solutions, which I agree, but there is not a new creative solution in the expertise of Richard Daley. We have evidence in writing, in reality, with what he did to Bronzeville, to the projects with Section 8, and it has been a disaster. An article recently in the Chicago Tribune said from 2010 till today, 65,000 blacks have been forced out of the city because of his redevelopment. So when you say that we need a new innovative solution and you give me a corporation built around Richard Daley, because these are his folks, I say what we will get is the same old, like Detroit, like Chicago, and and Philadelphia, where urban centers are being gentrified and priced out of the ability of the people who live there to actually remain there.
Okay.
One other thing I wanted to bring up in what you just said. You talked about hiring a point of contact person. Citizenship engagement is a very long, hard goal to develop, and it has to be done neighborhood by neighborhood, block by block, and it needs a strong commitment. Right now, Mayako has no one in it from Gary, no one in it who is black or Latino, and therefore, we're starting off on the wrong foot. I understand your presentation. I really see we have blight, and we need to tear things down. But if we move too quickly and without the kind of participation that people in this room would like to give, then we're going to end up with pushing people out of Gary, and we'll have a beautiful park with condos, but it won't be for those who are already here. It will be for what Richard Daley and at one point also the RDA said we want to do, is latch on to Chicago and be like a northern suburb. Their northern suburbs are middle-class white and don't have the history, the traditions, the culture, the artists, the spirit that Gary, Indiana has.
Try to get through Section 2, Broadway corridor.
Excuse me, how are you addressing her comments? Do you intend to do that?
Yeah, I'll get there. I mean, sure, I'll address it. Ruth and I spoke for about an hour and a half yesterday about this. I get you, I
Well,
understand.
we didn't hear the conversation.
That's okay. But I didn't want to recreate it before I was done. Okay. No, the basic premise is this. we're doing the redevelopment, they're funding. Mayor Daley, for all of his works and all the things he does well, there's one thing he does really well, and that's raise money, and that's what we. So this is the Broadway area. Again, the areas we're looking at, all the blue and purple dots, tax sale properties. And then finally, the last place we're looking. In that number. Now here's a special one. There are a ton of these, maybe 200-300 of them that are owned by one company from Colorado that indiscriminately buys properties at the tax sale, again manipulates the tax sale, and they sit on them, and they let them cycle through the tax sale program. So this really is misleading because this should have a lot more dark color. Okay. So here are the terms, Mr. Bugs, your question. So here's how this works. This is the deal. MIACO will spend money and resources on the front end to bolster the efforts of what the city is already doing. Implement plans that already exist, and where plans don't exist, to start the process. We only see a return if and when the property is developed down the road. They get 65% of the profits for the property sale. Redevelopment gets 35%. They're loan sharking us. That's the thing. They're a loan shark. They're saying, okay, we'll give you a bunch of money. You don't have the resources to do this.
Money or resources?
We're going to do it for you. With you. We'll work and figure these things out. And then at the end, we get a cut of the profits just for selling the land. We still get the jobs. We still get the land back to productive use and the taxes. They get the land from the transaction sales. And here's the milestones they have to hit. Mr. Cray, let me finish it. I'll get you okay? Milestones, this is their direct investment. These are the things that they have to spend for this to work. 1, 2, and 5 million at those earmarks. If they don't, deal's over. They get their money back. They don't get any cut of the profits. They get their money back over the normal course of development as if nothing happened. When we get to year 10 and 20, they get their money back. They're investing in properties, Mr. Wacky. If they're giving us, essentially loaning us, $2 million to buy $2 million of properties at tax sale, pay for $2 million of demolition, they get their money back, they don't get a profit.
Can I get my money back?
I wish you could also be a property, Mr. Wacky.
Let me get my money back.
After a certain point, 10, that says 1 million, I should say 10 million. And 15 million, it switches if they don't hit those milestones. So then the city gets 65% and they get 35%.
Is that net?
So I'm just going to end with this. I have a couple of thoughts. Again, there's no blueprint for how to get to start economic reality.